Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah, all praises be to Allah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad, his family and his companions. Jazakumullah khair all for coming, and may Allah reward you all. I know that now COVID is on the rise again, so a lot of people are not coming because of that. It's just becoming a little bit challenging to see people come into the masjid because they're afraid of being of the crowd and so on. And a lot of people now, I hear that they are tested positive with COVID. So may Allah protect us all, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all quick recovery. I have Sister Erika. She's the one supposed to be the speaker today
on this topic that we have been speaking about, mashallah, for a few weeks now. I'd like to bring up some of the, signs and awareness that we may need to improve or that we are strong on, and to see how we can better ourselves, inshallah, to, again, develop emotional intelligence, because it is very important for our relationship with others. It is very important also for our own peace and our own tranquility. It's linked to our beliefs. It is linked to the teachings of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is something that is in us. We spoke before that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us emotions. We are alive, we are people, and just like anything else, we need to learn how to manage them in the best way so we can be better people, and so we can better ourselves, and by improving ourselves, we can improve the environment around us. And by that I mean people that we interact with. This is our husband, our wife, our children, people we talk to, friends, family members, strangers. And so basically having a good management in our emotions can help us better make decisions that are productive, that are positive responses to situations in which otherwise we may respond in a negative way, and bring about drama and bring about worse situations that it may already be. So this is a fairly new topic that has been brought up maybe in the 1990s and is still developing. Is widely used in schools for children, and it is now a very hot topic among adults. And it is to be the key to solving marriages, to improving success in work, in the workplace, professions. In fact, emotional intelligence accounts for 90% of the success of people, not just their personal level, but at their academic level and at their work level, professional level. So it is very important. So inshallah, I'll go ahead and start with the slides, and we'll be talking along the way. So feel free to raise your hand on the Zoom, or jump in and make comments, contribute, inshallah, to our topic today. So there are many signs. I chose 10 signs, so let's stick to those 10 signs that tell us that we lack emotional intelligence, that we need to grow. And so let's see the first one. So as we all know, again, I just wrote in here that people who are in full control of their emotions, there are people who tend to be calm, people that find solutions to problems, people that don't be disturbed easily. And they are also people that can read the emotions of others, that can empathize, and that can solve problems without escalating. They de-escalate situations. So let's find out how or where we are at in this. So people who have a need to develop emotional intelligence are people who get stressed very easily. So the reason people get very stressed and easily stressed is because they react immediately to a situation that can cause them any fear or anger. And then all of those feelings combined can turn into stress. And by the person not recognizing these feelings, then it becomes an overwhelming emotion, and it makes them lose their control. They don't rush, they cannot think straight, they cannot think clearly, and therefore they become stressed, overwhelmed. And in response to that, they make decisions that may not all be beneficial. So they may react physically, meaning they may show anger, they may show also, they may hit something, they may want to destroy something. If they may scream, they may cry, they may just, close up and not open up their minds, or not open up to hear anything that may help solve that stress or to ease that stress. So if we are those people who get stressed very easily, very afraid of things, is because we are not aware of our emotions and we are not in control of them. Basically, our emotion, whatever that is stressful, has a root, and we are not stopping to see what is the root that is causing that stress for us. Stress is part of life, yes, but it's manageable. And so, and there's many stresses. It could be negative stress, which may refer to a negative event, like such what is happening now with the virus and so many things that come with it that can cause a lot of negative stress. And a positive stress may be caused by positive situations, such as planning a wedding or planning, a big event that's going to bring us happiness. But nevertheless, it is stressful because of the process of preparation. So we need to be aware of what is causing that stress and how we can manage it. So we find ourselves trapped into not knowing what to do, or feeling overwhelmed, or building and creating problems in our head bigger than they need to be, then we may need to work this area. And this area of emotional intelligence is lacking for us. Are we good till there? Is everyone there? Okay, good.
Yes, we're here.
Yes, I see people. Another sign that could be that we lack emotional intelligence and we need to develop this area is having difficulty asserting ourselves. This area has to do with us having difficulty making ourselves clear, asserting ourselves, making sure that what we say is what we mean in a positive and in good manners. It's knowing how to say no without offending others, without being rude, and without crossing any boundaries. We can still say no kindly and respectfully, and still get our way and stand our grounds, pretty much. So we don't have to be mean and have an attitude in order to be assertive, in order to state our points or to get our way. So people who have a difficulty asserting themselves would be those people who raise their voice because they may think that by raising their voice, they have more power, therefore they have more control of situations, and therefore people will listen because they may look scary, or people just don't want to deal with them, and they feel that they're being assertive at the moment, but they're really not. They're not really making themselves clear. So being assertive in this case means we don't have to be intimidating. We don't have to use any foul language to sound more powerful, or again, scary or stronger, or intimidating would be really the appropriate word. We don't have to do that. We can, again, keep our manners. So we find ourselves losing our balance and losing our cool in a way, and we find ourselves getting angry and saying, this is what I want because I say so. It's got to be done this way because I want it done this way, or because, what I say is what is right. We find ourselves trying to prove our point in a manner which is disrespectful by words or physically, meaning using foul words or even using our gestures, like raising our hands, our voice, or acquiring a positioning which shows, power and intimidation. then we need to check ourselves. We are lacking emotional intelligence, meaning this kind of emotion, anger or dissatisfaction is taking over ourselves and is not allowing us to think of a better way to express what we want in a way that is more respectful. So we have to find a balance in good manners. Again, we can say no kindly without losing any friends, without causing any enmity. We can still be kind, and the people may not like that we say no to things, and that's okay. But that's one thing that is totally different. They may not like what we say when we are asserting, but that doesn't mean that they have to feel disrespected or that they have to feel diminished, or offended. So if we find ourselves sometimes coming across as rude or having an attitude, or we try to get our way in a rude manner, then we need to check ourselves. So this is an area that we need to grow. Another one is having a limited emotional vocabulary. And this is very, very common. And this is why a lot of times we don't understand ourselves and our own emotions, because we don't have an ample or a wide list of words that can describe how and what we are feeling. And so a lot of times we only know a few words. We know the word, I'm sad. But in reality, we may actually just feel a little bit nostalgic, or maybe a little bit frustrated, or maybe we're not really sad. Maybe we're just tired. And sometimes we might find ourselves saying, I don't even know how I feel. So we find ourselves feeling or saying that sometimes, or being confused about what we are going through or what we are feeling at the moment. Then we may be lacking a vocabulary that can exactly describe what we are going through, what we are feeling, what emotion we're having at the moment. And by knowing that vocabulary, that exact emotion, by knowing that, we are open to manage that in the proper way. So if you know that you are feeling angry because let's say a situation, let's say someone disclosed some information, you confided on someone something that wasn't necessarily a secret, but it was told in confidence, and that person told somebody else that you did not want to disclose to, whatever information that was. And so your first feeling may be anger. You may be like, I can't believe it, makes me so angry. This person went and told something I just told her, and then she went and told, so I'm very angry. Yes, you may be really angry, but you also feel betrayed. And the real feeling that we have when that sort of thing happened is actually betrayal. We don't necessarily feel angry, we feel betrayed. And that feeling of betrayal brings other feelings in it. But to understand that when I feel betrayed, why? Because I confided. So the opposite of that will be betrayal. So how do you handle that? I feel betrayed with the action of my friend of telling someone else something I confided in that person. So by knowing that, you can express better and talk to the person and say, look, I really wasn't expecting you to do this. I really feel betrayed. And that person in turn, of course, will realize that what they've done is wrong. They may apologize, and that might make you feel better. And an anger feeling might come if any information of that was disclosed has an outcome that affected you or that affect us. But again, it's about knowing the exact emotions. So these are words that we already have in our vocabulary, and words that we have used and perhaps misused. So it's just about being aware of what we are feeling and how we can apply those words, so we can identify and find a more positive response for us first, and for the other person as well, so the situation doesn't escalate. So this is where the vocabulary comes handy. And this is particularly helpful when we have younger children, because we grown up have probably experienced so many things. We know how to express ourselves better. But for children, it's very important that as parents, we teach them in whatever situations they may face, what possible feelings they may be experiencing, so they can learn how to express what emotions they might have. So this is particularly important for children, but a lot of adults also, we can benefit from that as well. Are we good till here? Anyone has any questions, any comments? I always enjoy hearing your comments.
I have a question about when you talked about the one before. Is it also one of the reasons that people don't know how to express themselves because the way that they were raised?
For asserting or for vocabulary?
For the vocabulary, because
Yes. Again, it has to be taught to us when we're little. I think grown-ups in general, we just learn the hard way, and we learn words as we grow up. We read them, we hear them, and we feel them. So we relate whatever feelings with certain words that we know. But there are so many, and they're not really that dramatic, and they're not really that few. There's so many. So it is important that we tell our children. I think that when we were little, at least for some cultures in our generations, we're like in our 30s and 40s and perhaps above. I think we were not really told to express our emotions, or to not to express, but not to acknowledge our emotions. Our emotions didn't really have a name. We either were sad or crying, and that was it. It didn't develop into telling us, hey, you feel a little frustrated, calm down. You don't have to, they didn't tell us there were so many levels, like, anxiety, and then you feel nervous, and you feel this, and you feel that. A lot of times it just told us, you're angry or you're happy. There were a few emotions that we really grew up with. So this is, again, very helpful if we have younger children. I will go ahead and do two more, and then we'll switch to question and answers, inshallah. Or we can stop here, we continue this next time, and we can go for questions and answers, inshallah.
I just want to see, I see that someone named Ricardo, he has his hand up,
Oh,
up.
yes, I just saw it here.
Yeah, and there is also Sister Sandra is here. I asked her to come, so maybe she would like to also add something. But yeah, let's Ricardo and Huda also. She has their. Do you mind if they ask their question, or do you want to continue?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Ricardo, go first. Go ahead, Ricardo. Are you with us?
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You were talking before about our limited vocabulary for expressing our emotions. But for example, I am bipolar. I have a bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are kind of depressed and your emotions are going up and down, and you try to communicate with other brothers and sisters, and sometimes, not always, sometimes they think like you are like playing around with your faith, like you are just lazy, and or you are just stubborn, and that's what they think. And my question would be, how can I communicate with those people? What terminology, what kind of vocabulary can I use so that they understand that it's not just because I'm lazy or because I want to play around with my faith? I would like to have, I don't know, some tools and way to convey that meaning to them. Am I making sense?
Yes, I can hear you fine, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. I understand. Yes, you made perfect sense to me. I think that it will depend on the situation and what are you trying to tell them, or how you're feeling at the time. And then find words in which you can express upfront. Not necessarily tell them, I have this condition or anything like that. But the first step would be for you to recognize what kind of emotions or feelings you're having, and then find that and understand that for yourself first, and then communicate that to them. And it will be also helpful, again, that other people will be emotionally, intelligent, developed, because they will be able to also understand you. This is why it is very important, because if both of us understand the emotions of each other, then we will have a better relationship. They will be able to read some of your feelings, some of your emotions. Does that make sense? And by you developing yours, you're going to be able to read not only yours, but also theirs. And so it is very, very important, but I think that will depend on the situation and what you're trying to convey. So it will be hard for me to tell you a specific word that will describe your emotions, but it will have to be really with you understanding what you're trying to convey and what you're feeling at the time, and finding the appropriate way that describes that. Like if you're not lazy, then you can, depending on the situation, you can use different words to say, I'm not lazy, maybe I'm just feeling tired, maybe I'm low in energy, maybe I'm just taking my time, maybe, I'm working on it. I know there's many ways of saying it. I don't know what the situation is, but that there are many others. It will have to be specific.
Thank you very much. Jazakallahu khair.
Jazakallahu khair.
We have also Noura. She has her hand up. You can actually. Oh, go ahead, Erika. You want to say something?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Noura.
Yeah, sister, I'm struggling with like the thing that you. Hello.
Sorry, Huda. Huda, can Noura go first, and then you can go after her? Is that fine?
Oh yes. Okay. Perfect.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Yeah, and lately I noticed that my struggle is not being able to say no the way I raised, the way my mom, like, they just put in my head, this is how you be nice, this is, you get, after that, like, when I became religious, like, yes, you get a reward and all this, until I found it's mentally really, I just found like 2 weeks ago, I think, it's really mentally draining me, because I was searching on this, and then I found every time I say yes when I don't feel like doing the thing is really going to affect me in my mental health, and it did. I just want a quick fix how to learn. I'm trying to learn, but
I think that, allow me to interrupt. Yeah. I understood you exactly and perfectly. Jazakallah khair. So that will have to go back to this one here, in which you have difficulty asserting yourself, you have difficulty saying no. And also we need to understand that there is a difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice means exactly what you're doing. You are nice all the time. You take things that you may not even be in agreement with. You don't take them with your heart, but you are nice. In a way, you're afraid of making people angry or disappointed, right? And that's, a lot of us were raised that way, perhaps, in which you just be nice, especially if you're a female. You have to be nice and nice all the time. Say yes to everything, and you forget about yourself.
Especially with the old women, I'll give you example. Like when my mother-in-law came, she asked my son.
I don't want to know any private things.
No, it's not private thing for me. My 11 years old, he, the water bottle, the big, huge. Like it came with 24 bottles. For example, I'm giving you example to understand my point. Okay. Even something like for my kids, I don't want them to get hurt. But if someone like it comes with 45 bottles and it's very heavy. And my son, his posture and he's developing muscle as 11 years old, he does not know how to carry this on the stairs. So I was worrying about him, but since she said you carry it, she does not want her son, my husband, to carry it, and she wants my son to carry it. This example, I just be silent. Even I'm worried about my son. He throw it on the what happened exactly, like what I was worried about. It happened. He fall, he like not fall completely, but a fall from his hand. You know what I mean? Like even something really, this is what drained me. Like this is what why I can't say no.
Again and again, I was going to finish saying that there is a difference between being nice and being kind. You're being nice in that sense because you avoided any conflict between, you know, with her, or you avoided a situation that might have been displeasing for your husband and for her. But you could have been kind, and what I mean by kind means you can say no without being disrespectful. And you could have said something like directed to your husband, you know, not kind of like ignoring her, but kind of telling your husband, hey, you know, sweetie, would you mind please? Or tell your husband or tell your son, why don't you help your Baba? Baba can help you, or Baba and my son can do it. And kind of like make like a teamwork, make it sound like they can cooperate and do it together. Because it wasn't really, you know, because
the problem, her son go to her side. Yes, he has to learn. Okay, but he's not an expert, you know, with posture, with exercise. His muscle
and maybe you should talk
like,
to your husband separately and agree on how you both want.
After that, I ran all the time to carry this all the time before they even ask him. And I'm sorry to say, like, to interrupt in the class and say all this, because I'm mentally now drained, because also tomorrow she's coming and I need really quick fix to say no. Like just to learn how to say no in these simple things. That this is one example.
And then what you can do, you can, so we don't take all the time, you can text me after if you want to, but just gonna give you a quick advice. And you get my information from Sister Ruba, but just to give you something to think about if we don't connect, is think about possible scenarios that you might go through when she visits you tomorrow. Think about possible things that could happen. And think about possible ways that you can say no, or that you can respond. That can be kind, and meaning you're not going to use a bad tone, an ugly tone of voice. You're not going to be disrespectful. You're not going to use bad words.
Yes.
But just kind of think of that instead of, you know, in trying not to show emotions of anger, trying to say no with a smile. So you're going to have to be in control of your own feelings and your own emotions. And kind of read her intentions as well. Don't assume that everything she wants to do is to annoy you, you know, so don't also think just wrong about it.
Can I tell my son don't? Like if they told him to carry this and I can ignore all of them and say to my son, don't do this.
Right, and we've been talking about how we can raise our children. Inshallah, we can have a lecture on that. Inshallah. But again, this is what I was saying. Teaching these behaviors, these emotions, this acknowledgement of emotions to our children is crucial. It is important because we can raise children who are kind, who can say no, who can say yes, who know their limits, who understand others, and that don't assume wrong all the time or ill intention from anyone. But again, for your case, inshallah, think about possible things, scenarios that can happen, and how possibly you can respond in the most possible positive way without being respectful to her, without hurting her feelings, and you know, without crossing any lines, without bringing any discourse.
Always my fear is having a trouble. Always my fear, like
you're afraid of that, and that is normal. But again, just go ahead and you can call me if you want after this. Get my info from Sister
I just shared the information between
That's
you
wonderful,
and her.
And we can go over possible things for that. And I'd like to just conclude with this because I think we're running out of time, and I would like to have at least 15 minutes for question and answers because I always like to learn.
There's Sister Huda wants to say something too.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. She's been raising her hand for a while. Go ahead, Sister Huda.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will try to be fast. So my only point, it's my first time I'm attending your class first about emotional intelligence. So I want to just focus on whatever I heard today concerning the fact some people don't know the vocabulary. I totally agree, and that's true. We are supposed to express our feelings, which in my life, it helps me so much to really express whatever I feel. My only point also, it's because I heard like kind of to be perfect. The fact to be emotionally intelligent sounds like you should be like kind of always be ready to react in the best way manner, which in reality sometimes it's not always possible, but I agree about the fact we need to make a much effort about it. But there was a part where you said about the fact to yell. Yelling is not something, it's like a banned reaction, if I understand it well. So I'm gonna just refer myself to what I understood, and maybe I'm wrong. In some situations in the Sirah where Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, you know, there was a small story where his wife had the voice up, what can I say, high voice, and it was not dismissed. It was really tolerate and compensate with the good bits she do as a wife to him. So he was like, okay, I can bear that or support this. Sometimes people are relieved this way, but it's not just in any situation. Maybe I believe when somebody feels he's in situation of injustice, even Quran mentioned that it's not good to yell or to have a voice, high voice, but when you are wronged and you are in injustice situation, this is something allowed. So this is in this context, I want to just understand what is the limits and what is the tolerate side of this. And that's it. So thank you so much for your intervention.
Yeah, I think let me see. Are you asking to know that what is the position on emotional intelligence in regards to yelling, like us, like a person yelling, or did I mention something? I think I misunderstood. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry for my English also.
No, it's great. I think I just missed one part. So are you asking, like, can we yell to express our emotions? Is that what you're saying? Can we speak loud?
No. My point is, I felt like the part of, how do you call it? You maybe
to express ourselves?
When your voice is up. So
when we raise our voice,
raise. Okay, thank you for raise your voice. So this part is like dismissed completely, that it should not happen, which I want to understand if it's really what I understood is right, or it's
like it shouldn't happen. Like we shouldn't raise our voice to express. Is that what you're saying?
No. That's what I understood from the emotional intelligence in the presentation. At one point, you were talking about this. It's like not allowed. It's to be emotionally intelligent. You should not.
Yeah. Oh, I got you. I understand that is one of the characteristics that we are not. Okay, we yell a lot, right? Like if we yell a lot, we are not emotional intelligent. Is that what I said?
You said something absolutely like this, like
something like that. Like if we find ourselves yelling and we find ourselves demanding and we find ourselves raising
overreacting.
We are not overreacting. Okay. Yeah, well, it depends. It depends in personality, depends on your voice. Some people are naturally loud. You know, they have a louder voice than others. Some of us are softer than others. And I need to raise our voice to be heard. Some people need to lower it down. What I mean is, like, tone of voice has an effect on how people feel. And it usually denotes power. You know, when we raise our hand, our voice, when we raise our voice, it denotes power. We want power of attention. We want our voice exactly to be heard. We want to state our point. We want people to look at us, to pay attention, to get that point across. Now, is it necessary? It may be necessary in some occasions, but it is not. It should not be something habitual. That should not be our first reaction, our first resource to express or to ask or to say no for something. Does that make sense? But it's definitely something that can happen. And that just because I raise my voice for certain circumstances does not mean that I am lacking absolute emotional intelligence. It means that I am a human being, and yes, I am going to try my best not to. But just because we are emotionally intelligent developed does not mean that we are not going to have and make mistakes. That does not mean that we are not going to, at times, need reminders. It just means we're going to have more awareness and better control. We are going to be less angry, less unhappy, less stressed than a lot of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jazakallah khair.
Okay.
So Jazakallah khair. There is a brother Shahid Bajwa. He has a comment here, says share the EI EQ measurement parameters. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Parameters. That be? Let me see. Where is this?
Oh, you have it. That's great. MashaAllah.
Let's see. I don't think I have it here. Well, I have it on my other computer, which is I'm about to switch. So
while
there
you're
are so many of them. There's no specific one. There's so many that may have a lot of questions and for different areas of emotional intelligence. Because of my I guess my practice of coaching for people, I have my own assessment for that, but I can definitely share a few in the group, and then maybe Ruba can post it there and you guys can pick and choose. Is that what he's asking? There are a few. There are a few out there.
You can use your mic, Brother Shahid. That's fine. Because I don't see. Okay. I guess he's trying to type something. Okay. There must be industry standards.
Yeah, there must be industry standards. Yes, they are. But there are a few that are maybe
okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was
different areas.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can categorize into different segments.
Yes.
For this particular segment, these are the different parameters. I think that would be very helpful for the audience. Like you do for like you do for the IQ. I mean, now it's it's a very important to measure the EQ as well, the emotional quotient as well, as you were trying to explain. So that was my point. Yeah,
I do agree. I love that. And you know what? I was actually thinking about preparing a presentation on that actually, and I'm actually selecting the questions that I might present to you for one area only, because there's so many for all the different areas that they are. But if we can at least focus on self-awareness and which will be this area, then we can at least each one of us answer about 10 questions on where is our self-awareness in regards all of these emotions and where we're standing. So inshallah, I will do that next time. And so I guess to finalize, because I think my computer is also going to die. Another sign that we may need to develop emotional intelligence is the fact that a person with low emotional intelligence tend to make assumptions or form opinions quickly about something they hear or see, and they defend it, with all their heart, even if they don't have any facts. Even if they're not sure about it, if they feel passionate about something just because it clicked in their head or because they have some preconceptions or some ideas, they defend it and they don't take any other answer. They're not open-minded to possibilities or to different answers that may be related to something. Say, for example, and this may be a bad or good example for the controversy that this presents, which is the COVID vaccines. There are people who might say, it's bad and it's bad and it's bad, and they don't open their mind for anything, but they also don't respect other people's position. So it's okay that you make your assumptions and your opinions, which are exactly that. They are for you to keep. And an emotional intelligent person should be able to have their own opinions, stand their grounds, but also understand that other people have their opinions and they also have a right to stand their grounds. And we don't have to be in agreement, but we have to be able to respect people's choices and understand that they are personal. So a lot of times when we make an assumption and we have an opinion and we say, no, this is how it is. This is because I say so, because I saw it on YouTube, because I saw it on Fox News, whatever it is. people hang up on that and they close their mind to even understanding that other people might have different ideas. So if we find ourselves being closed-minded, just having one narrow thought about things, then we may need to develop some emotional intelligence, because we are allowing this emotion of closeness to block our thinking. So we need to at least be able to understand that this is what we believe, and that's okay. And that's what somebody else wants to believe, and that's also okay. So, and we shouldn't get angry about it just because somebody thinks or believes differently, you know, just like they don't get angry about what we believe.
Okay.
And so
Sister Erika, I don't think it's a good idea to continue with questions and answers. If you don't mind, we can just continue with this subject. There is Sister Sandra would like to address something for Ricardo. Is he here? Brother Ricardo or Brother Noah? Is he here? I hope he can hear us. Can you hear me, Ricardo?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So there is Sister Sandra. She's also a counselor and psychiatrist, and she is also licensed to do counseling. So she has something to add to your, to your comment, if you don't mind, Sister Erika, if she can also
yes,
comment,
please,
inshallah. Yeah.
please
Go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
Nice to meet you, Ricardo. Thank you for being so vulnerable and trusting with a very personal concern. I wanted to say that first of all, I think inshallah you need to be very patient with yourself, and I want you to remember that when the people who are treated like strangers during the end of time, they have the biggest reward according to the Prophet. It's called Tuba lil Quraba. It's what a reward, what a biggest reward for the strangers. And that includes people who are ignored and people who are avoided or disregarded. And we know that we are near the end of time. This is a time where we've already seen all the minor messages, the things that were heard of. But, one of the things I think to be concerned with is just be patient with yourself. We have an unusual situation in the world right now. And I think that finding one good confidant, a friend, someone you can trust that can understand you can be very beneficial than to have many, many friends, because sometimes that one friend has the quality rather than having a quantity as well. But to look up the Tuba lil Quraba, Ruba can speak more to that, I think, because of the fact that she's an excellent Arabic speaker. Can you elaborate on that?
Excuse me, I want to ask, can you please write down that word in the chat? Because I don't get it. Quraba?
It's
to and it means in Arabic to feel strange or to feel different.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I clarify.
And that the prophet said that these during people who are treated like strangers during the end of time, that they have the biggest reward according to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
We didn't know that. That's wow. Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the text, and Ruba can share that, and you can look at that hadith and understand more.
Yeah, that'd be great, sister. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. And mabruk, I understand that you're a new Muslim, so mashallah, mashallah, mabruk, mabruk. Also mabruk.
Yeah. Sister Erika, if you don't mind me just to comment on everything that you said, inshallah. By the way, what you said is actually very related to Islam, because in Islam, we value and validate emotional intelligence. And because that's, first of all, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used it in the Quran many times in addressing the Christians, in addressing the Muslims, in addressing the non-Muslims, and so on. And the way he addressed it, like for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة, means call towards the religion of Allah, you know, by using what? Wisdom. By using wisdom, using wise words, knowing what to say. And that needs emotional intelligence, right? Yeah, and hikmat wal maw'idat al-hasana means like to have good words, right? The other thing is the Prophet, peace be upon him, used emotional intelligence so many times. And I will give you a very short story before I finish, inshallah. One of the stories that there was a guy, he was, the Prophet ﷺ, he was sitting, and while he was sitting, they're saying that there's only 2 minutes before the prayer. While he was sitting and he was giving a lecture, there is a guy who came from outside and he said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah. And he was like very you know, he was like very aggressive. And he said, you know, إِذَنْ لِي أَنْ أَزْنِي, means allow me to commit zina or fornication. So he was like really far away from him, right? And he was like at the door, and it was like really embarrassing, you know. And if an imam, a regular imam, saw him, and he's going to probably tell him, what are you doing? This is haram, and probably like yell at him. But the Prophet ﷺ was very wise in how he responded. And he told him, come. And he made him sit next to him. What he did basically is, when he made him sit next to him, what we say in our modern days, like he basically switched his negative energy to positive energy. And he spoke with him with very wise words, with calmness. And he told him, would you allow this for your daughter, for your sister? And he said, no. He said, would you allow this to your mother? And he said, no, of course not. So would you do this? And he said, why would you allow this to yourself? Anyway, it's time for the prayer. Jazakallah khair, Sister Erika. And I'm sure we're going to have more time and more other events, inshallah, to participate. Jazakumullah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم. If we say something right, then it is from Allah. If we say something wrong, then it is from shaitan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward you. We love you all for the sake of Allah. We'll see you next time, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.